Check.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August edition of the Parker Radio Association monthly meeting. My name's Dan, and 2SRK Club President. We're glad you're here. We got a lot to cover. Boy, you would think with the pandemic going on that there's not a lot going on with the PRA, but that's totally farcical. There's been a lot of activity going on between the repeater committee, some planned hikes that are coming up. Some people have gotten new radios. So there's just been a lot of really good activity, and I think that it just absolutely proclaims the versatility of ham radio, and we certainly figure it out. So we're certainly glad you're here tonight. We'll do a quick around the room with our leadership group. We'll start with Patrick, AI8C. Patrick, good evening. Or maybe not. Patrick, can you hear us? All right. Patrick may not be able to hear us right now. We'll kick it over to Elizabeth, N1RDH. Elizabeth, good evening.
Good evening. Great to see everybody. Glad you're here and hanging out. There is a lot of stuff going on, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about what you all are doing. Back to you, Dan.
Excellent. Thanks, Elizabeth. And Justin, AE2L, the club treasurer. Justin, good evening. We'll throw it over to you.
Hey, Dan. Great to have this meeting, and great to have my dual cam set up. Hopefully that was smooth.
That was good.
Yeah, like I knew what I was doing. Good to see everyone on tonight. Got my Flex Radio shirt on, so yay for us Flex Radio operators. And looking forward to the meeting and the learning about whatever we're going to learn about tonight. So back to net.
Thanks, Justin. Much appreciated. We'll throw it over. Let's see if our Chief Technology Officer may be in the room or not. Ray, N0KEG, are you on?
Yo, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, good evening. So, oh wait, hang on. There we go. That's why you didn't see me. Now the camera's on. So that's better.
There he is.
Yeah, no, glad to see everybody, and it's exciting times for repeater building season. You know, that's what they. I guess we have two seasons in Colorado. Really, we have snow and repeater building, right? So this weekend's going to be awesome. The D-Star machine is going to go for a little ride in the back of my truck up the hill, 10,000 feet to the top of Mount Crumpet, and hopefully we'll have that bad boy on the air by the end of the day, along with some other goodies that the rest of the repeater committee's working on. So that's the exciting stuff this month from us. Back to you, sir.
All right, Ray. Good to see you in there. Thanks for all you're doing with the repeater committee. I know there'll be a pretty good update coming up. Our at-large directors will kick it over to John, N4SJW. John, good evening.
That's N4SJW here. Good evening, everyone. And yeah, I share Ray's joy, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. But man, we've been working really hard and looking forward to some really exciting stuff. So great meeting tonight. Look forward to participating, and back to net, N2SRK, N4SJW in the Pine Ring.
All right, John, thank you. Good update for sure. Last but certainly not least, from the studio control room, Wayne, what is going on? N08D, we'll throw it over to you.
Hey, good evening, and hello, everybody. Nice to see everyone. And as always, throw on the pitch, subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell so you get notified when we go live. And yeah, looking forward to getting those repeaters up on the hill, and looking forward to our outing coming up this weekend. Should be quite enjoyable. Got some stuff dialed in for that. So it's going to be fun. But I'll pass it back to you, Dan.
All right, Wayne, thanks again for all you do kind of behind the curtain. This whole mashup that we have between Google Meets and YouTube just doesn't happen magically. Wayne is the brains behind it, so certainly want to thank Wayne for all the efforts that he has had in making this a reality. I see Patrick is back. Patrick, our vice president. Patrick, good evening. We'll throw it over to you.
Hey, Dan, thanks. Sorry, I'm remote in Georgia this week, so relying on Wi-Fi that I don't know. So thanks, everyone. Good to be on the meeting, and hope everyone's been well this past month. And look forward to hearing what Paul's got going on and hearing the updates from the club. And hope everyone's keeping healthy and safe. And I'll hand it back over to you, Dan. Thanks.
All right, Patrick, thank you. I think you get the DX check-in for tonight coming in from Georgia. So good to see you there. And it's a perfect segue. So tonight is a great presentation that's lined up by Paul, AC5S. If you have ever been in the market on buying or selling HF equipment, Paul is probably the best at it that I've ever seen. Every once in a while, I'm able to get a good deal. And when I think I get a good deal on something, I brag about it. And typically, Paul will call me a week later, and he got a better deal for about $100 less. He's that good. So he's going to share all the tricks of the trade tonight and get you updated. So maybe you may be in the market for a shack upgrade or checking out maybe a new QRP radio that you got your eyes on. Paul's going to give you a great lineup and some great hints and tricks on buying HF equipment. And at the same time, too, he's also going to share the selling side of it as well. A lot of people do pretty well within amateur radio and flipping radios. So sometimes you get a good deal on a radio, you mess with it for a little bit, and time to move on, and maybe you put $1 or $2 in your pocket. Always a good thing. So Paul's going to share that with us tonight. So Paul, thank you for doing that. It's always appreciated. We'll kick it over to you, Paul, if you have any introductory comments you'd like to add.
No, I don't. Just good to see everybody here tonight, especially Patrick. Good to see you, buddy, and in Georgia, and all the rest of the crew here, and Elizabeth. And so I just want to give a quick shout out to Elizabeth. Wow, what a great job she's doing on getting that blast out Sunday. Yep. And for those of us that send information to her, she gets it out. It's perfect. And so thank you, Elizabeth. We really appreciate what you're doing there. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Paul, thanks for that quick update. And I can't disagree with you. I'll second that motion. Elizabeth has been doing just a fantastic job on the update. She's given it a nice facelift. Has made it a lot easier to read than when yours truly was doing it. And boy, I was pretty fortunate when Elizabeth said, "Will you give me a shot at this?" Because yeah, sure. Well, happy to turn it over. And it's one of those things that I wish I had done 6 months earlier. So Elizabeth, great job, and thank you for all you do in those weekly updates. They are absolutely fantastic, and I think you're going to have some commentary on that later on in the meeting for sure. So we'll get to you, but got to thank you for what you're doing. So thanks, Elizabeth. All right, so we are going to kick it over here to Justin, AE2L, for a treasure report. So Justin, we'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Hopefully we transition seamlessly into the video here of the treasury report. You guys all seeing that?
Yeah, looking good, looking good.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
So checking is looking good. 65, 14, 65 as of this week. King Supers, as you guys know, good participation there. I think we just picked up the last check from the PO box, so that'll be get deposited very soon here. Amazon Smile year to date, 226.72, nothing to shirk at. Have to pay the internet bills at our new repeater sites for a couple months. So thank you, Amazon. Jeff's been doing a great job of giving the board a weekly membership report. And he's got all kinds of cool stuff happening with membership and new members and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the number that we really care about here is 170 active members. It gets smaller as we get further in the year. I could probably flip it. I could probably do a couple things. But it's easiest just to say that the big changes since last month were repeater hardware for the Hollywood Hills site. So thanks to Randy and Ray and Paul and the repeater committee for doing a fantastic job of putting up an amazing repeater site and keeping it under budget. So great job there. Also want to let everybody know we did make a $500 donation to the Patriot VE organization, which will help fund their operation for the better part of a year. We really appreciated Nick and everybody who are members of the club, by the way. So hi, Nick, and hi, everybody on the Patriot VE. I'm a Patriot VE myself. So we really felt that the contribution and what they're doing in the ham radio community was just up and above and beyond. And especially with as many times as, we had Ray taking his test there to get his extra. Congrats, Ray, on that there at Field Day. So we wanted to make sure we got a little bit of money in their hands, and our way of saying thank you to Nick and the VE team for everything that they're doing for all the hams that they're making in Colorado. So thanks again for that. And that's about it for the financial update. And again, if you have any questions, concerns, want to know what something was or why we're spending money, always feel free to reach out to me, Alpha Echo 2 Lima at parkerradio.org, Dan, N2SRK at ARRL. I'm sorry, N2SRK at parkerradio.org. And thank you. That was a little bit of a joke, and we appreciate it. Got to keep the squelch loose, as is our motto. So anyway, that's it for the financial report. Let me know if you have any questions. AE2L back to net.
All right, Justin, thanks for that. Much appreciated. Looks like we got some more people coming in. So again, I want to welcome everyone for coming out. I certainly want to welcome some of our new members that have joined here recently. Gregory, KF0AJG, Christopher, KE0ZXK, Jeremy, KI5EOU, Jim, N0JWR, Jake, KF0BDW, John, KC0LUH, Steve, AE0KF, and Russ, KR6USS. So a lot of new members that are coming in, and certainly if you're here tonight, we welcome you and glad that you're here. One of the things that we try to make pretty clear is that this organization is membership driven. It is membership ran and membership driven. There's obviously leadership that's in place to help guide the organization, because it is an actual organization. We're a 501c3, and as an organization we have to run it accordingly, but at the same time too, this is a membership driven organization. So just like anything else in life, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So again, we're glad you're here. And boy, Justin, you said 170 members. That's pretty remarkable. It's amazing to see that many. I know we go back just a short amount of years when the club was founded, and the original 13 that sat in a room to say, all right, are we going to do this or not? We felt that if we have 20 or 25 members, we're going to be in pretty good shape, and that'll be a good starting point for us. And not only was it a starting point, it was a launching pad. So again, we're glad that everybody's here and actively participating in things that are going on tonight. Want to give a quick update on the Douglas County Library status. So here we are, obviously online, and we've been doing this pretty successfully for the last 5 months. The Douglas County Library is open and operational. However, for groups, they are limiting their exhibit halls to about 15 or 16 at the max. So obviously, as I look at the number of people that are on this call, we have 20 people that are on the meeting tonight. That we would be 4 over, and they would actually kind of shut it down. So we're going to continue along the path of what we're doing here with the Google Meets meeting. It's been going pretty fluidly, and we've been doing a pretty good job at it. It seems to get easier and easier the more that we do it. So again, I want to thank everybody for their understanding with it. And we're trying to do some limited group activities as well. Obviously, we exercise social distancing, some good protocols on hand washing, hand sanitizing, things like that. But we're going to try to get some more activities brewing here over the next couple months, and hopefully we'll be able to get back into a full-time status back at the library. They have been very, very gracious hosts to us over the last couple of years, but obviously with them running the show, we obviously have to make adjustments accordingly. So until further notice, we're going to continue to be here online, YouTube Live, or via Google Meets, or a combination of both. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. And if anybody maybe on the air or any of the repeaters are asking, please be sure to share that information. Next here we have Elizabeth, N1RDH, and she has some comments and talking points on the weekly email blasts and member showcase. So Elizabeth, I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you, Dan. And you said it perfectly. The PRA is a group of all of you members. So what I'm trying to do with the email blasts is showcase everything that you're doing. Do you have any rare DX QSOs? Are you doing any sodas? Are you doing any toroids, antennas, any builds? I had a great build from Ron K0EKA, the Beast, and I have some upcoming stories from Justin and Mike. I just emailed you too. A lot of people are slowly sending me, I think you guys are catching on. I want to showcase you. You're a part of the PRA. You're what makes the PRA a great association. I have talked to a couple of people before the shutdown, and they were looking for a club, and they said, well, there's not too many good clubs around, just a couple that'll take your money and put up a repeater. And okay, well, you pay your dues, and we have some cool repeaters, but guess what else you're doing? You know what you're doing at home. So I wanted you to email me, n1rdh@parkerradio.org. Tell me what you're doing. Yes, you're bragging, and that's okay, but you're also being an inspiration. You're giving other people ideas, and you're showing everybody else what we are made of. And just keep on sending me the emails, n1rdh@parkerradio.org. All right, back to you, Dan.
All right, Elizabeth, very good. No, you couldn't have said it any better, because the weekly email blasts and the newsletter that comes out, it's great to stay updated on things happening during the week for the club. But as Elizabeth said, we want to showcase you, the members, and it's really, really cool to give, pardon me, those updates. Those updates are things that I think other club members could thrive on. So if you're doing, like Elizabeth said, an antenna build, you did a soda activation, brag about it. We want to know, because quite frankly, Wayne is certainly helping me out to want to get my first 14er in this year and do some soda activities. So we're not too far away from the snow flying. So I'm gonna make sure that I follow in Wayne's footsteps and his leadership. And he's bragged about some of his soda activations, and I said, you know what, I think I need to do that. So don't be bashful about sharing some of your successes. Because you never know, you could be the next inspiration for somebody else in the club to maybe follow in your footsteps, or be a great Elmer. So Elizabeth, really good update. So,
and pics, or it didn't happen. So
that's right. Yeah, it's kind of like a hole in one. Somebody's got to witness it and send some pictures, and even video. Justin had a good video, I think, at our last meeting that he shared, and we got that corrected, by the way. So we'll maybe have an update later on in the meeting on that. So, and again, so send your bragging rights and your soapbox comments on all things that you're doing ham radio related over to Elizabeth, n1rdh@parkerradio.org. Thanks, Elizabeth. Next here, weekly net control operators are needed. Brian, K0FBS, are you on tonight? I don't think Brian's on tonight. We are definitely needing more net control operators. There's been about a steady 6 people who have been the regular net control operators over the last several months, and thank you for that. That has absolutely gone a long way. But there's a lot of nets that are upcoming that don't have a net control operator. One of the neat things about being a net control operator, and I was as nervous as could be the first time I did a net control. So I was 14 years old with the Holmesburg Amateur Radio Club in Philadelphia. So many may have operated them during the 13 Colonies special event.
Do you have hair?
WFN. What's that?
Did you even have hair then, Dan? Sorry.
I had a lot of hair back then. I'll tell you what, I don't, you know what? I got a picture here that I'll show later. You were going to be amazed at the head of hair I had in college. I mean, absolutely amazed. It was something special. So I'll dig that picture
Well,
up.
thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about bragging rights, that might end up in a club newsletter. I lost a lot of bets in my day, so that's why I don't have any hair anymore. So I got tired of shaving it. So, or yeah, growing it out and then having to shave it. So I just said, well, I'm just going to pick that and stick with it. So yeah, so being a net control operator, 14 years old, my first net, no pressure. There were 75 check-ins, and the net went almost an hour and 45 minutes. So it was pretty neat. And the one walk away that I had with it that really helped me later on within amateur radio, in particular, having fun with contesting and field day, was really honing in my listening and copying skills. So don't be bashful to sign up to be a net control. Even if it's your first time, you won't be in a John Wayne position. We're not going to throw you to the wolves. We are going to be there. You'll have a backup net control. We will support you the entire way. And at the same time, too, we are scheduling a first-time net control learning session, maybe at one of our Elmering nights that'll be coming up. So more information will be coming out on that. But if you have done net control or you're comfortable in signing up to be a net control station, maybe you can multitask tonight. Get yourself over to www.parkerradio.org, and under our events tab, you'll find a sign up to be a net control station. So a couple mouse clicks that quick, you'll be signed up. There's a script that you can download as reference, or you can use it verbatim. Completely up to you. That's one of the beauties about being a net control operator. So make sure you sign up tonight or in the next day or two. We need more net control operators. So thank you for those that have done it and that are going to be net control operators here over the next couple weeks. Next, we'll get into HF loaners, and Justin, we'll throw it over to you. Are we keeping the dust off these things and loaning them out?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the 991A that's available right now, and that was out on loan recently, but it came back. And we've also got the 7300, which is currently out on loan. But yeah, we've got both radios ready to go. I'm sure whoever's got it now will be disappointed when we let them know that you'd like to take it home and play with it, but it's a shack in a box. You've got headsets, you've got an antenna, you've got the transceiver, a power supply, microphone. I mean, it's everything you could possibly want to operate on HF, or actually in some cases VHF sideband. A lot of options with these loaner radios. You could operate on C4 FM on the 991A. Boy, it's kind of limitless. So got that 991 Alpha sitting there ready for checkout, and the 7300 will be back when we have someone that's looking to check it out again. So take advantage of that, and we'll get those radios out in your hands. Back to net.
All right, Justin. Yeah, that's your assets are at work. So, you know, the money we collect through memberships and the assets that we have within the club, you know, between repeaters and things like that is always good. But to have HF loaner equipment, like the 991 that Justin mentioned, VHF, UHF capabilities with that. So even if you're thinking about getting any of those radios, maybe for a shack upgrade, boy, what a great way to check them out, give it a test drive, and see what you like and don't like about it. So again, those are there for the members. A little bit of paperwork you have to fill out, and boy, they are two very, very exceptional radios to not only utilize, but as Justin said, it's a shack in a box between the radios, the power supply, antennas, headsets, mic. You're ready to rock and roll. So thanks for that update, Justin. And while we have you, Justin, you want to talk about King Soopers and Amazon Smile?
Oh boy, would I love to. So as the club treasurer, I love free money, right? Because we've got all these things we want to do for the membership of the club. Like Elizabeth reminds us often, we're here to serve the members. And members love repeaters. Members love field day. Members love barbecue at field day. Love that barbecue at field day. And right now, one of the great things that we've got going on is that even though we get more members, I love free money, and I love free money from big corporations, and I love that we're a 503c, and I love Amazon, and I love the Kroger Corporation. The Kroger Corporation has donated to the Parker Radio Association thousands of dollars. And the way you get hooked into that is you go to kingsupers.com, sign in with your phone number, however you get logged in. You go to your account and you go to community rewards. And then I'm going to guess, but I think I know it at this point, Bravo Tango 94 is the PRA with Kroger. So you're going to get signed up with us. And then every time you swipe your card, you punch your number in at the gas pump, you buy some groceries, they give us a little money every quarter. And it's $600 or $700 or $800 a quarter, which is really helping to fund all the activities we're doing as a ham radio club. So it's fantastic. And we really appreciate I'm hoping that, Dan, we can cross 50 households. We've kind of been stuck at 49.
Yeah.
So hoping to cross that threshold there. And so we appreciate it very much. On the flip side, we've got Jeff Bezos up at Amazon, who gives us money as well. You go to smile.amazon.com, which is now available on your mobile device. You do have to sign up for it. But I've noticed we're actually we went from trending in the 45s to the 80s for the last 2 quarters. So it actually doubled. Exactly. So when Dan's on there looking for a new paper towel holder for his shack or whatever, and he buys that and he's signed up with Smile, they give us a little money. And you know what? Free money. It serves the club, it helps promote the mission of amateur radio, and helps us keep the squelch loose and have delicious barbecue at field day. So we appreciate everyone that's participating in those programs. If you have any questions about any of the programs, want more information, you can email us on the Contact Us form on the website. Email me, Alpha Echo 2 Liberty at parkerradio.org. Email Dan, N2SRK at parkerradio.org, and we'll get back to you promptly. We appreciate it. AE2L, back to net.
All right, Justin. Why? What a great update. And you know, as Justin mentioned, it's those small little things that we're able to do as a group that really have a big impact. So the quarterly checks from Kroger Corporation via King Supers, just a tremendous windfall for us. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do half the activities that we do as an organization without that opportunity. And absolutely the same holds true with Amazon Smile. Just an absolute opportunity for us to not only add in additional cash into the organization, but obviously we're not afraid to put that cash to use. We certainly don't sit on it. So again, make sure if you're a King Supers or Kroger shopper, sign up. Make sure that you get online, and under your account settings, you select the Parker Radio Association as your charity of choice. We'll kick it over. Speaking of events coming up, the Portable Operations Group, Paul or Randy or maybe Jeff or I don't know if Terry's on, but we'll throw it out there to see for any comments regarding the Portable Ops Group and the next event coming up.
Well, Dan, I'll cover that real quick. This coming Saturday, the 22nd, we are going to take another one of our famous hikes up to Signal Butte out in Teller County. And what a fantastic location this is for Portable Ops. I mean, we have some great pictures from last year, but we'll get some good pictures this year as well. If you would like to do a short hike, although strenuous, and you'd like to bring your KX2 or KX3 or your portable, anything portable, throw it in a backpack, join us, take a look at the blast that came out on last Sunday. It'll give you information on where we're going to meet and what we're going to be doing, and everyone's welcome. You don't have to bring a radio. You don't have to have equipment for portable operations. There'll be a lot of equipment you can look at and watch people operate. That's what I did last year, and I learned a lot just from watching. So that's this coming Saturday. Look forward to seeing everybody bright and early at the Parker United Methodist Church. 5:45 a.m. is our blast off time. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Paul, thanks for that. Yeah, that's a great opportunity. And as Paul had mentioned, it's pretty good hike, some switchbacks that go back and forth, a short hike, but you'll be doing some huffing and puffing, and that's okay. So make sure, considering the weather conditions, make sure you have a hat, maybe something to sit on. Carry light, but also have a lot of water. That is going to be very, very important. Make sure you have plenty of water. So if you're packing up and go, I have enough water, maybe throw a couple extra bottles in, because water is an absolute resource on this hike. You are going to need it. You're going to want it, and you don't want to run short on it. So make sure that you pack plenty of H2O, maybe a Gatorade, and maybe some snacks to go along the hike. That'll be pretty darn important. So that'll be a good time too to not only do a hike, but do some portable operations and be able to see how people set up their portable antennas set up, whether it's a wire or a vertical, or what radios are using, what different types of batteries are using. So just a great opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, and just to add there, Dan, it is a mile hike round trip, 600 feet in elevation, and it's supposed to be in the 80s on Saturday.
Okay.
That's what it looks
Very
like.
good.
So yeah, you might bring a hat. It's not a lot of shade at the top, but yeah, same here. But yeah, should be a good time.
Excellent. No, good commentary, Wayne. Thanks for that. We'll kick it over to our committees. We'll start with the website committee. Jeff, we'll throw it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Wow, what a great turnout. I guess word must have got out about how good Paul's talk is on buying and selling radios, because it was one of my favorites last year. And maybe it will inspire you to pop over to our forums at parkerradio.org, where I believe there are still a couple of pretty sweet deals for HF rigs available. So if you haven't been on the forums lately, check it out. And from the website in general, everything's going really well. We did a major update Sunday, went to WordPress 5.5 and updated a bunch of ancillary things, and things just humming right along. I would like to put a bug in everybody's ear. If there's anything you'd like to see feature-wise added to the website, our current website is, believe it or not, approaching 2 years old. So I'm thinking it's going to get a major facelift this fall. So maybe for the new year. So if any features you'd like to see, throw a note my way, Alpha Bravo Zero Lima at parkerradio.org, and we'll see what we can do. And I did just check the dashboard, Dan. We are at 173 paid members, and we are at 190 total when you count in our guests. So
wow,
yes, very, very impressive. Wow. And while I've got the floor, I don't see Tom online, so if you don't mind, I'll cover the SWAG committee as well. I kind of got a little bit of an update on that.
Sure.
If you ordered embroidered gear like hats or polos, they did just get delivered to Tom. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was Friday. So he is getting that all packed up to mail out. We are still mailing out gear because of the whole COVID thing. So he's working at getting those parts and pieces out. And I just heard this morning that our T-shirt order is ready for pickup. So if you're waiting on a T-shirt, I know Randy's one of them. As soon as I get hold of those, I will get those likewise packaged up and mailed out to you. So, and we do have quite a few extra T-shirts. So if you missed out on the initial order, I'll get the site updated with quantities and what we have in sizes and so forth. But as usual, we'll have a pretty good selection of the sand and the ash-colored shirts for all sizes. So you're not too late. We can get you styling. And then the last thing is we've kind of stalled on the hoodies, and it's sort of understandable. When Denver reached 100 degrees today, you're probably not thinking hoodie. But fall is right around the corner, and I think we need maybe 10 or so more hoodies, and we can get that order going as well. And Tom's kind of spearheading that. And what a great thing to add to your wardrobe for the cooler fall months. So keep that in mind and head over to parkerradio.org/gear for all those goodies. Anyway, Dan, we'll send it back to you, and I'll shut up for now. 73, everybody.
All right, Justin, I think has a comment.
Yeah, just one quick comment. Thanks, Jeff, for getting all that taken care of. And just want to point out that the club is covering the cost of shipping the shirts right now during this unprecedented new normal. So just FYI on that.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Jeff, thanks for the update. And I have to give Jeff a lot of kudos. You go back a couple years of our website, and we were really in a pile of coat hangers with our website. And we had mentioned earlier in the meeting about the member, this being a member-driven organization, and Jeff's background and expertise. He said, "Yeah, I can take a shot at it." And I'll tell you what, one of the best amateur radio websites, and I'm not saying that because of who we are, but easy to navigate, easy to find things. Boy, having your own member login for it, I think is pretty darn special. You can update your address, you can update your email address. Lots of things that are in your power to do as a member to not only keep yourself updated, but keep the club updated as well. And again, kind of like what we're doing here with this Google Meets and YouTube Live, it just doesn't happen by itself. So it's the expertise and the passion of those that are out there and of our members that are bringing it together. And obviously that absolutely holds true with our website. So Jeff, thank you. Much appreciated. We'll kick it over next to Doug in the VE committee. Doug, we'll throw it over to you.
Thanks, Dan, and hello, everybody. And on behalf of Patriot VE team, thank you, PRA. That will help greatly because we don't charge for tests or classes or anything. Speaking of which, this week and next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, is a general class license study group. Hang on. Excuse me. It's free online, and you can sign up on the forum section under licenses and upgrades. And if you happen to not get the link like someone did down in Elizabeth, email me and I'll get you the link. And on that note, the next testing for Patriot VE is in Longmont on September 13th. And September 27th is in Elizabeth at the American Legion. And that's been a pretty good turnout down there. And if you're not in that area, there's going to be a test session on the 22nd of this month in Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, Longmont, and Monument. And then the 5th in Woodland Park, the 9th in Grand Junction, the 12th in Colorado Springs, and the 12th in Denver, Mile High VE team at Ham Radio Outlet. And I'm finding all that information on the ARRL.org/exam sessions, and you can search for your area specifically. But yeah, Patriot VE team doesn't charge for anything. Free testing, free classes, and everybody volunteers and believes in the same thing. So thank you, PRA. And as far as club news, I think that's about it for now. I might have to do a recheck later, but I don't think so. Playing with SSTV today. K0 back DC, back to net.
Help to take my mic off of mute. So Doug, thanks for that update. I want to thank you also. You do a fantastic job in our forum section of keeping us updated on all things going on within VE testing, throughout the Front Range. So again, that takes a lot of work to do, to compile that information and organize it and get it posted to keep our members updated. So Doug, thank you for that. That's much appreciated. Speaking of HRO, I don't believe Bill W0SUN is on, but I do see somebody who's a familiar face from Ham Radio Outlet. That's Jeff, W0QO. Jeff, is there any updates you have from us from our favorite candy store? And you're on mute, by the way. There you go. Welcome on board.
Yeah, no, we're still not clear on when we're going to be able to let people into the store. And as we make progress, I'll let you know. I guess the big news is that if you're interested in the ICOM 705, ICOM gave all their dealers permission to sell the radio, and they're expected to reach dealers sometime between, let's see, middle of September to the end of October. And people are taking orders, and they'll be distributed in the order that they're purchased. And if you're interested in that radio or curious about that radio and how it compares to the KX3, ICOM put a very nice video. It's 17 minutes long, and it's out on YouTube. And if you do a search on ICOM IC-705, you'll find it. And it is, I watched it yesterday, and there are features that I said, wow, they really put some thought into this radio. So that's about it. Not to get too business on this, but take a look at if you're interested in portable radios and, going hiking and that sort of thing, I suggest you take a look at the 705 and kind of, look at it and compare it to other things like the 818 or the KX3 and see what you like. Back to you.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for that update. Much appreciated. And boy, what you guys are actually doing a great job down there. There's been a number of small orders that I've placed down there, and it just goes very smoothly. You place your order on the phone, and you call them once you're in the front parking lot. They come out the front door, and here's your goodies, and off you go. So again, the transaction is easy peasy. And hats off to you guys down there at HRO Denver for just a great job as always. We've talked a little bit about net control already. Let's go over to the Elmer Committee. Paul, AC5S, anything you'd like to add for the Elmer Committee?
Well, I want to thank everybody for participating in the Thursday night Elmer TechNet. We've had some fantastic nets, upwards of 20 plus people, and answering questions for new hams and answering questions for experienced hams, and we've been doing presentations. So make sure you join us on Thursday night. We also are going to, for a better way to describe it, set up a sign-up sheet for future monthly Elmer nights, because we have several people wanting to do presentations. So we're going to space that out a little bit, and I'm going to work with Elizabeth over the next week or so to get something set up on that. But we're still doing Elmer Night once a month, and it's a YouTube live event, just like we're doing tonight. And then we're doing the Elmer Tech Night every Thursday night at 8 p.m. on the W0CFI repeater, except for the fourth Thursday of the month when we do the Simplex net. So please join us on Thursday night. You're going to find that there's a lot of good information. And if there's just one question that's been really bugging you, you want to ask that question, do so. There's a lot of good talent on there. And sometimes we can answer the question, sometimes we can't. But join us Thursday night. We look forward to seeing you there. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Paul, thanks for that update. And as Paul had mentioned, the Elmering night that's on YouTube Live. So aside from the net, the Elmer net each Thursday night, once a month, we have an Elmer night. So very similar to how we handle our club meeting here, although no agenda other than a great Elmering presentation and typically a lot of question and answer that takes place as well. So if you want to mark your calendar, that's actually taking place next Wednesday night, the 26th. And there'll be more information coming out probably on the next email blast on sign in for Google Meets as well as the YouTube live link. So keep an eye out for that. Again, next Wednesday, the 26th, kickoff for that will be 6:30 p.m. I noticed Brad is here. So Brad, I want to throw it over to you for the new member welcoming committee. So Brad, I'll let you take the floor.
Hey, thanks, Dan. I don't have anything prepared, but would like to welcome any new members that are new to ham radio or new to the Parker area. We're glad to have you with us. And if there's anything that we can do to help with finding classes or exam locations or directions how to get to the candy store, anything you might need, please reach out to us via the contact page on the website. That's monitored by a team of people that will route your email to the right person who can get you the information you're looking for. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and welcome aboard.
All right, Brad, thanks for that update for sure. And thanks for all you do with the new member welcoming committee. Just an important part of our organization is making new members and even our guests feel welcome. You know, kind of like the mantra at Cheers. We hope that everybody knows your name the first time you walk in, and the second time after that. Hopefully everybody on the meeting is familiar with the show Cheers, and I'm not showing my age too much. Maybe I'm showing maybe the Ted Danson look right now. Let's see here. I want to make sure I got everything covered. Oh, no, I don't. I got a lot to go here. The repeater committee. I hope you guys are ready for a great update on the repeater committee. Paul, AC5S will lateral back to you.
Well, Dan, it's an exciting week. The committee has been meeting every week, by the way. We've been building hardware and getting software ready and testing systems. This coming Sunday, the 23rd, we are deploying a ICOM D-Star repeater, UHF, on Squaw Mountain. We're also deploying a Motorola VHF analog repeater on Squaw Mountain, along with an All-Star system that's installed on the VHF repeater. Now, we've been asked, what are the frequencies? Well, that's coming out in our Sunday blast. We'll have some instructions, and we'll have some frequencies for you. So look forward, if everything goes according to plan, look for those two repeaters to be on the air sometime this Sunday. The Fusion repeater is about a week or two behind those two. We're still getting some infrastructure in the ground and things of that nature, but that repeater should be on the air pretty close to the end of August. So 3 brand new repeaters, a Fusion WiresX full-blown WiresX repeater at the Hollywood Hills site just east of Parker, and then the D-Star and the VHF repeater up on Squaw Mountain at 10,600 feet. Wow, it's going to be exciting. It's really going to be exciting. Look forward to everyone getting on there and checking them out. I will tell you that we are going to be doing all-star training during our face-to-face meeting in September and during our Elmer meeting in September. So you could say that September is an all-star month. And so a lot of cool things going on. But that's all I have. Look for the blast on Sunday for some really cool information on those 2 repeaters that are going in on that day. And back to you, Dan.
All right, Paul. Thanks for that update. It's no joking that the PRA repeater committee has been very, very busy over the last several months, and it's amazing to see just a talented group come together, not only in kind of a mashup of different ideas and suggestions, but they put together a great repeater plan, which is being executed pretty darn timely. To get 3 repeaters up on the air within a matter of weeks is nothing short of remarkable. But at the same time, too, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and the repeater committee meeting so regularly to keep things on track. And obviously the leadership group, we had an approval of a budget, and looks like this group is going to not only be on budget, but they're going to be under budget and have 3 just absolutely fantastic systems that are going to be going up. So certainly, we're covering all flavors of repeaters between Fusion, D-Star, and also analog. So again, hats off to the repeater committee and those that have been involved in it. The finish line is in sight. And then it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to test out and use those systems. So, Paul, thank you for your leadership with the repeater committee. And thank the, actually, you know, it's not just one person that does it. There's how many people on the repeater committee?
We have 13 members.
So 13 PRA members that are contributing. So it's those small contributions collectively that make a big impact. So hats off to the repeater committee and all the fine work that they've been doing here over the last several months. I'm going to jump into just a couple real quick ARRL updates. Obviously, the headquarters in Connecticut is still operating with a minimum staff and 50% at headquarters that alternate in and out of the building just based upon state of Connecticut rules and regulations. So please exercise a tremendous amount of patience if you're dealing with headquarters on maybe some orders or some certificates you may be getting. They are feverishly trying to work through those. And they've actually been doing a pretty good job in trying to get some of those things out. So again, just as a heads up, the mandates in the Northeast are a lot more strict than what we have here in Colorado. And considering their staffing levels, those that are in the office or working remotely, and for those of you who have worked remotely, at the beginning, and even if you're a couple months into it, 3, 4, 5 months into it, it's just not the same as being at your desk at your office. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with the ARRL. One of the other things that the ARRL just took full advantage of, kind of like what we're doing here within the PRA, they've actually started the ARRL Learning Network. So the Learning Network just gives a tremendous, great library of information, and they're very short presentations. So these presentations, they happen live like we're doing here. They have sessions where you can ask the presenter questions after they give their presentation. But these sessions usually last about 15, 20 minutes on a variety of topics. Anything from logbooks to digital operations, CW, Aries. I mean, the list goes on and on. So if you're an ARRL member, you have access to these, and you have access to the live events, as well as the library of topics that are discussed. They're all recorded, so that's a pretty good thing. So again, really, really great opportunity to expand your amateur radio learning. Which is obviously a part of the amateur radio service, is continuous learning. And maybe, just maybe, you have something that you are absolutely passionate about, that you'd like to be a presenter for the ARRL. Make sure you reach out to them. So again, all of these presentations that happen are member driven, and the member volunteers can just complete a real quick speaker form, send that into headquarters, and typically a quick Q&A after that form is submitted, and get you onto the schedule to be an ARRL presenter. So more information on that can be found at the ARRL website, arrl.org/ARRL-learning-network. So information on that is posted not only on the Parker Radio Association webpage, but also the Rocky Mountain Division webpage at Rocky Mountain Division, all one word, .org. So a couple quick updates there from the ARRL. And we'll get into a couple things here. Let me find my agenda. And now we'll just get into any general ham radio announcements. As Elizabeth would say, here's your opportunity to brag. So any soapbox comments, maybe some recent upgrade. How about new licenses? Anybody get a new license here in the last couple months? How about an upgrade? The silence is deafening. All right, I know there's going to be one on this next question. Any new DXCC worked? Come on, Doug, what'd you work?
How'd you know?
I could see you nodding.
Today I worked Falkland Islands, which is on the southern tip of South America.
Excellent.
and I can't remember what the other one was. I worked another one too. I can't remember what it was.
Was that on?
Oh yeah, the Montenegro.
Excellent.
That's the other one. So yeah,
Real good.
FT4 and FT8 have been good to me this week. And now I'm playing with SSTV, so
All right.
trying to figure that out.
That can be a lot of fun as well. Well, congrats on the new DXCCs that you picked up. That's again, that doesn't happen by accident. So good
Wow.
job there.
Thanks, man.
Anyone else? Any new countries worked? Maybe new modes tried out? Like Doug did some slow scan TV. All right. Well, how about some new gear? Anybody pick up some new candy here recently?
I bought
No
your
way.
818.
What's that?
I bought your 818.
Not mine. You bought Paul's.
Oh yeah, sorry, Paul. Yeah, sorry. I meant the other guy. The other guy. Sorry, Paul. Yeah.
That might be a good segue into buying and selling radio.
Well, I was looking at Paul, but I was listening to you. Yeah, sorry. One of those days. What can I say?
It's late in Georgia.
Yeah, it is actually. I'm 2 hours ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
It's almost nap time for me.
And at least it's not smoky in Georgia.
Yeah.
Dan, don't you
This
have
is true.
an upgrade in your shack?
I do. So
I got a contact with a good old N2SRK this weekend playing QRP in the parking lot.
Yeah. So Justin is actually wearing the shirt of the radio that I procured. So, after a lot of Q&A, not only with Justin, but I attended the QSO Today online virtual ham radio convention, and which they did a fantastic job at it. And by the way, that is actually going to be taking place twice a year. So there's another one that is going to be scheduled here later on this year. So keep that in mind. There's going to be part 2 of this convention. But what I thought was going to be a really awkward type of online thing, boy, what a great job they did. It was really cool. So I spent time in the ICOM booth, the Elecraft booth, the Flex Radio booth, and the Yaesu booth. And obviously those 4 manufacturers had a final running into the whole thing. And lo and behold, spending a lot of time with some of the senior brass at Flex Radio, they spent probably 45 minutes handling my endless questions on their radio. And needless to say, as the Godfather movies go, they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. Well, that ended up happening. So I ended up picking up a Flex 6400. Absolutely having a blast with it. Yeah. I see Justin is thrilled. Justin was very, very influential in pushing me into the deep end. And I have to admit, no knobs or buttons to start was a little bit intimidating, to say the least. So I had to get the Maestro with it. So the Maestro is on its way. That'll be coming. But at the same time, too, one of the easiest radios I have ever set up, fully integrated with some of the other pieces of software that I've already used with my other equipment, and just absolutely having a blast with it. So that's been my latest acquisition. Anybody else? Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Any other final comments, questions about anything on the meeting or ham radio topics in general?
Real quick, Dan, just want to say thanks to everyone that helped me get the hex beam that I've been working on getting on the air for, I don't even know how many months it is, how many times we've tried, but it is phenomenal. And there will be more information coming through Elizabeth's channels of write-ups and member highlights. We're going to save it for that, but that thing is banging. And I'm very appreciative of everyone that came out to help, because it took 7 of us and was not easy.
No, that was a lot of fun, Justin. And in being out there with the whole gang that was out there, I don't know how you and Mike even made the attempt. Just two guys trying to get that thing up into the air. So that's why there's 4 downs in football. You get 4 opportunities. You scored on down number 2. So good job
Well,
there.
unfortunately, that was more like down number 4. So it was 4th and goal for us. There's more to that story. So.
Well, you got the ball over the goal line. That's all that matters. So it looked good. Sounded like it was performing well in some of the initial tests that were done there in the AE2L shack. So good stuff. Good stuff.
I do have one more thing, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Stan, for offering his place to do VE testing. Don't have a date yet, but that may be in the future. So thank you, Stan.
All right. I don't know if Stan is online here in Google Meets or if he's just watching on the YouTube side. So hats off to Stan for that. Any other comments, questions, soapbox comments, the ham radio updates, anything else anybody wants to add?
I was going to add coming up here over the next couple weekends, I was probably going to set up a station at Lookout Park and maybe some other places. If anyone's interested to come out and hop on the air or check it out, just shoot me an email at nzradio@parkerradio.org. Probably Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, set up at a park or somewhere. Lookout Park is over here by Piccadilly and Smoky Hill. But I've been out to Glenwood Spring, out to the Castlewood Canyon, even just driving out to the middle of the country and just parking the car and getting an antenna in the air just to get away from the city noise, whatever it takes. So definitely, yeah, if you're interested, shoot me an email and maybe we can set something up.
Very good. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. And Wayne does a fantastic job at some of his portable ops setups as well. So take advantage of that. Even if you don't have a radio, that's okay. Just get to understand the motions and what's involved. And I know Wayne would certainly appreciate the opportunity to be able to Elmer anybody new who's interested in that.
Yeah, and also do it yourself. Get out there. It's pretty interesting. Of the park that it's at is about 60 to 80 feet above the surrounding area. So they see the people that live around see a 40-foot mast and an antenna hanging off the mast, and they come out to the park just to see what we're doing. So, and they're totally blown away. They're totally interested, wanting to figure out exactly what you're doing. And I've had some guys like, wow, that's, get really interested in it. So it's definitely a good way to reach out to, get people involved in the hobby.
Excellent. No, that's for sure. You start putting some antennas in the air and it draws some attention for sure.
Right.
Well, any other final comments before we get into our monthly presentation? All right, hearing none, we're gonna close the formality of our monthly meeting. So I'd like to thank everybody for their participation. We are actually going to kick it over to Paul, AC5S, who has, again, a fabulous presentation that is lined up on how to buy and sell HF equipment. So Paul, we are going to throw it over to you, and it looks like you are already sharing your screen. And the floor is yours, Paul, so take it away.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good. Welcome to the presentation for August, how to buy and sell used HF radio equipment and how not to be taken. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I got started in this. This year would have been my 30th year to go to the Dayton Hamvention. And when we moved to Colorado back in 2005, I realized it was going to cost a little bit more to get to Dayton than it did from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I thought, there's a guy in Divide, Colorado that was buying and selling a lot of radio equipment, and I lived in Divide, and I thought, if he can do it, I can do it. So I thought, well, I can make some extra money this way and maybe help pay my way to Dayton. So that's how this all started back in 2005. There's a lot of used equipment that can be sold, bought and sold. There's transceivers, including mobile radios and handhelds and QRP rigs and antenna tuners, analyzers, antennas, power supplies, accessories, and amplifiers. So I started, I dove in head first. And what I found out real quickly was that there wasn't a lot of margin to be made on a handheld radio. And antennas typically didn't always arrive in one piece, and power supplies were very, very costly to ship in some cases because they were heavy. And there was zero money to be made in microphones and cables and batteries and things like that. So I decided that I would focus on HF transceivers. And since 2005, I've sold about 400 radios, something like that, maybe 450 radios. I don't think I compete with HRO, but some months I think I might. So I break the radios that I buy and resell into two categories. And I want you to know this presentation tonight is kind of focused on how I run my business, but everything we're going to talk about is equally as focused if you're buying a radio yourself or you're wanting to sell a radio. All these things that I do apply, and so I think you'll find some of this stuff interesting. So with HF transceivers, I break it down into two categories. Those manufactured within the last 15 years or so, and then older than that. And just so you know, I don't deal in older radios. If it's 10 years, maybe 15 years old, I'll deal in that particular transceiver. But if it's 25 years old, I don't personally do that, with a few exceptions along the way. So let's talk about why buying and selling, or buying for yourself as a new radio or as a second radio, why buying something that's a little newer is probably the way you want to go. First of all the newer radios typically have good digital signal processing suites built in them. And that can be really beneficial when you're trying to work a real rare station like the Falkland Islands or something, on voice especially. All the newer radios have really good receiver designs. They're excellent. They're absolutely excellent. They're all solid state. Okay. If you buy a radio that was manufactured 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, you can still buy accessories for it. Factory mics, factory power cords, option boards, they're usually still available, but you're not going to find that with the older radios. Most of the newer radios also cover HF and 6 meters. And they also usually have specific digital modes like USB data. So they're a little easier to interface. Also, many of the newer rigs have USB connections for rig control and digital operation. So it makes it very, very seamless to integrate some of the newer rigs. Most manufacturers will service radios that they still sell. So if you buy a Yaesu FT450D and something goes wrong with it, you buy a used FT450D and something goes wrong with it, well, Yaesu will still service it. And all of your newer radios have data and accessory ports for remote control and amp keying and things like that. It's just all seamless. You don't have to worry about connecting anything to these newer radios. But I think the main reason why I focus on the newer radios, and why, if you're trying to buy a radio for your first HF rig, or you're trying to buy one for a camping rig, or you want a second HF rig, the main reason I like to deal in these radios is because they're excellent values. You can buy an HF rig for as little as $350 or $450. And up to that $1,200 range, there's some phenomenal radios out there for purchase. Now, let me go through some of the best options here. This is my list. Your list may vary, but anything in the Yaesu FT450 line is an excellent radio. Very reliable. They've had very few problems with them. The Yaesu FT DX1200 and the FT DX3000 are great options for used radios. The Yaesu FT891, excellent receiver. The 991 and the 991A are both fantastic buys right now, especially. ICOM 7100, ICOM 7200, ICOM 7300, and ICOM 7410s are all fantastic radios for your first radio purchase, or if it's a backup radio, again, you can't beat any of those ICOM radios. Also, your Kenwood 590 Sierra and 590 Sierra Gulfs are great values. Radios that sold for $1,200, $1,400 can be had for as little as $600 in some cases. And I like to throw in the 480 SAT Kenwood as well, because those are a little harder to find, but they're very good radios, and they're becoming a better value as well. But there's a few others I'll throw in here as well. I think the Flex Radio 3000 model is a very, very excellent radio, and there's some fantastic bargains on those right now. Also, the Flex Radio 6300, which is getting a little dated, is starting to look really nice if you're looking to get into an SDR radio. An ICOM 7600. Everybody on Ham Nation operated at one time or another an ICOM 7600. Now, it could have been because ICOM gave it to them, but there's another reason. It's just a fantastic radio, and those are starting to hit that $1,400 range for a radio that at one point sold for over $4,000. ICOM 7610s are out there and are getting to be more reasonable. I've never had an Elecraft on my list here before, but I think that the Elecraft K3s are starting to be more reasonable. I've never had an Elecraft full-size radio on my list simply because they were just priced really, really high, and I never thought they were a very good value, even though they're a very good radio. But the K3s are starting to look really promising, and I bought one last week for $700, which I thought was a pretty fair deal. It's already sold though. Now, Kenwood TS2000s, any of the Yaesu QRP rigs, the 817 or the 818s are fantastic radios. And when you start seeing some of those in the $325 range, you say to yourself, wow, that's a bargain for a QRP rig. And then while this radio had some issues in its time, the ICOM 7000 is still a really good option if you can find them at a reasonable price. So what are some of the bad options? Where would I give, if someone asked me for my opinion, because I test out all the radios that I've purchased and resold. So I have tested out 400 plus HF radios. So I do have a list of radios that I would stay away from. We had a club member come up to me after the last presentation and said, man, I wish I'd seen this presentation before I just bought my Pro 2. Any ICOM 756 Pro Series 1, 2s, or 3s, horrible options because the displays are no longer available. ICOM doesn't have them. They're not available aftermarket, and they all fail. All the displays over time fail. This club member had a Pro 2, and it was getting ready to go on the market as a parts radio because the display was had failed and the radio was not usable. ICOM 706s, I don't recommend anymore. They're just way too long in the tooth. They're just much older technology, and the receivers don't compare in any way, shape, or form on the 706s or 703s to the newer radios today. I don't recommend most Elecraft radios for the same reason I mentioned previously. They're just not good values. The Yaesu 897 and 857s have horrible receivers by today's radio comparisons. So I would stay away from those, and they're still way overpriced. The 570 Kenwoods have display issues, and again, the displays are not available. The Kenwood TS480HX radios require 40 amps to operate at full power, and they had some power amplifier issues in some of the later versions, so I don't recommend that radio. I don't recommend any Elenco HF radio, regardless of the model. They just don't have the feature sets that you're going to find in some of the other brands out there. The Yaesu FT100, probably the worst HF radio ever built in the history of HF radios. Now, I did a presentation for the Tri-County Amateur Radio Club here a year ago, and some guy basically right in the middle of the presentation stood up and he said, well, I've got 2 FT100s and I love them. Well, good for him, but the FT100 is a piece of junk. I wouldn't buy one. If it was offered to me at $200, I would pass on it. Any Chinese HF radio that is used, I wouldn't purchase personally. If you want to take your chance on one, go ahead. But I'm not convinced that the Chinese are quite there yet. Although they're newer, some of the newer stuff that's come out in the last 6 months, I would buy as a new radio. I just wouldn't buy it as a used radio. I am not real keen on buying kit radios that other people have built. Your mileage may vary, but you're depending upon somebody else's soldering skills and building skills, and sometimes their skills are not as good as some of the operators in our club. And most flex radios are not a good option to buy used, simply because, again, they're not usually typically good values. If you can find a flex radio 6400 for $900 and you're convinced that it works, that's a steal. I would buy it. But if you need to pay, if you find a flex 6400 for $1,850, which is what most people ask for them, it's just not a good value. So this is what those are the radios I would stay away with. Let's talk about older transceivers for just a minute. There are some pros and some cons to older transceivers. And I said 10 to 15 years old, and beyond that date, beyond that time frame is what I call older transceivers. So here's some of the pros. If you happen to find something that was built in the 70s or 80s and you just got to have it, okay, but here's some of the things you should think about and what may be pros and cons. First of all, some of the old transceivers have tubes that glow in the dark, and that is very cool. And if you're in Ray's shack sometime late at night, he's probably got some of those radios operating, and there's a beautiful glow in his basement. The older transceivers, for the most part, do have very excellent receivers. Even by comparison to some of the newer radios on the market, they have very, very good receivers. They have lots of knobs and buttons, and they don't have hardly any menus. Maybe they don't have any menus. So if you're into that, the older transceivers may be the way to go. They're full of history, absolutely full of history. And you can talk to people that have been hams for 35 plus years, and they can tell you some pretty cool stuff about some of the older 520 Kenwoods and stuff like that. They're definitely easier to work on. I can replace a parasitic resistor in the final stage of some older transceiver, some older transmitter. I would never attempt to work on a surface mount device in a radio manufactured in 2018. So there's that. And then some of these older radios are excellent values. I saw a Kenwood 520 Sierra the other day that was shipped to your door for $295. Now that's a hybrid radio. It has a tube in the final and everything else is solid state. You know, if you're just really into old radios, great. But you will have to work on them. Doesn't matter which manufacturer you buy, radios built in the 70s and 80s and maybe even early 90s, you will have to work on them. Also, they do not all cover the expansion bands, the work bands. They have limited parts availability. We talked about the Pro 3 ICOM, the 756 Pro 3, and the TS570 displays. But when you get back to some of the wafer switches and some of the various parts and pieces of the 1970 model, 1980 model Kenwoods and Yaesus and ICOMs, you just can't get parts. And as Dave KX3DX mentioned the other day, even some of the early DSP chips, some of that came out in the late 80s and early 90s, if that chip fails, you can't get it. It's not available. Also, manufacturers will not perform repair services. Excuse me for a couple of coughs as I go. A little bit of smoke in the air over here. Did I say that you will have to work on them? Well, if I didn't say that, you will have to work on them, or somebody else will, because they will fail and you will have to work on them. Also, older radios may not interface well with computers, or they may be a little more difficult to interface, more difficult to run digital, but not impossible. And here's the big kicker. Some of the older radios are priced higher than radios manufactured 10 years ago, and they have less features. So don't be fooled by the classics. It's not the way you want to go, especially if you're buying your first HF rig. Absolutely, positively don't do that. If you want it as something to play with, something to work on, something to have on in your shack that looks cool, absolutely go for the older radios. All right. Where do you buy the radios? Best places to purchase? Well, always, if you can, buy from a friend or a club member. I bought several radios from club members. Buy from a ham referral. Maybe they're not a club member, but they tell you that they know somebody that has a really nice radio for sale. Buy from a ham dealer that deals in used radios. Now, I don't know that HRO still does locally, but Main Trading Company out of Texas does, and they have a wide selection of used radios. And if you trade a radio in at Flex Radio to buy a brand new Flex, all the trade-in radios go to Main Trading Company. Just a little hint there. And they resell them. You can also go online. That's where I buy radios exclusively. QTH, EHAM, and QRZ are just three of the sites that I look at every day. But I only use QTH.com, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Craigslist. You know, I bought some good stuff on Craigslist, but you have to be aware of what you're doing there. Meeting in person with COVID is probably not the best thing to do, but you do get to look at the product before you buy it. So beware at your own risk, but Craigslist is not a bad option either. Worst places to buy a transceiver. This is my opinion. Hamfest or Swapfest. I would never buy an HF rig at a Hamfest or a Swapfest. Why? Because many of the radios that are being sold at Hamfest or Swapfest have issues. They have problems. People take them there to get rid of them. Now, there are exceptions. I have bought radios from a gentleman that works at HRO at a Hamfest, and I would buy anything from him. But just beware, not everything you find at a Hamfest or a Swapfest is exactly the way it's represented. eBay. I used to do a lot of business on eBay. I never do business on eBay anymore. It is an absolute horror show right now. And I don't recommend you buy anything off eBay. Neighborhood garage sale, horrible place to buy a radio. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but I have to be able to talk to the person that knows something about a radio before I buy it in 99% of the cases, and you typically don't find that at a neighborhood garage sale. Okay, never, ever, ever buy a ham radio transceiver at the Dayton Hamvention. So I don't know.
You mean a used radio?
A used radio. Thank you, Justin. We are talking about used radios tonight, and I would never buy
Easy flex, boy.
Never buy a used radio at the Dayton Hamvention. I'll tell you my story real quickly. I've told it before. I was trying to buy a Heathkit amp for a friend of mine, and I came upon a beautiful Heathkit amp, exactly the model he wanted. And the guy said, I'm going to tell you a story about this amp. He said, this was owned by a gentleman that worked for Collins. And he was an engineer for Collins. And he built this amp. And he said, I can't take the cover off and everything, but if I did, you would see inside that it is an absolutely mint specimen. The workmanship is beyond anything you've ever seen. And I said, well, I just got here. I'm going to look around a little bit. And so on the next row over in the flea market at Dayton was another example of the same amp that I was trying to buy for a friend of mine. And before I could ask him a question about the amp, he said, I'm going to tell you something about this amp. You're not going to believe this, but this amp was owned by a guy that worked at Collins. And he was an engineer. And if I could take the cover off this amp, you would see the most meticulous workmanship ever. Well, I'm sure both those amps weren't built by an engineer that worked for Collins. There's just a lot of stories that are told at Dayton. And the bottom line is buyer beware. Don't buy a used radio at the Dayton Hamvention. This next year will be my 30th year to go there. And I can tell you, I know what I'm talking about. Commercial flea markets, really not a good place to buy transceivers. If you find a Yaesu or a ICOM radio at a commercial flea market, it's probably there for a reason. I would stay away from that. Okay, my favorite online site, without a doubt, QTH.com. If you've never been there, go there. If you're looking to buy a used radio, QTH.com is the place to go. Unless there's a club member that has one for sale on our forum, for instance, that would be a better place to go. But if you're going to buy a radio and you want to look at a large selection, go to QTH.com. Okay, it's an easy site to use. It has some safety features built into the site. It's a well-managed site. They have a great selection of categories. Pictures import seamlessly. So if you're going to sell something, that's a benefit. I personally, I bought and sold more on QTH.com than any other site. And it's kind of hard to explain, but there's a little higher caliber of amateur radio operator that hang out on that site and put equipment on there for sale. And I think EHAM and QRZ are similar, but not as good in my opinion. I'm not a real fan of the guy that runs QRZ in the first place, but that aside, you can put your stuff or buy something from EHAM or QRZ if you want to, but I think QTH is a better site. Okay, let's talk about best practice for a minute for buying online. And because that's where most of you are going to purchase your first radio or your second radio or your camping radio. Unless there's something on the Parker Radio Association forum, you're probably going to buy online. So here is the best practice. Here are the things that I do every single time. Okay. And number one, always speak to the seller on the phone. If the seller will not talk to you as a buyer, If the seller will not talk to you on the phone, do not complete the purchase. Okay? Number 2, go to the QRZ page of the person selling the item and look at the picture on their QRZ page. Is that radio they're selling in that picture? Does their shack look like it was hit by a hurricane? Are there bare wires sticking up in the air behind the radios like I've seen a couple times? This kind of tells you a little bit about how they maintain their radios. You can also Google their call sign. I Googled a guy's call sign in New York here a few months ago trying to buy a tuner. And oh my gosh, you talk about a nightmare. He certainly wasn't going to get any of my business. So do a little background check on the person if you can on the internet. Again, find a picture of their station if possible. See how they keep their equipment. See if there's pieces of hamburger or food in their shack. Whatever it is, you can use your judgment there. Okay, you always want to buy a radio to as close as original condition as possible. If the radio has scratches, dents, or other cosmetic flaws, you just have to pay less, always. Because like I'll say 2 or 3 times in this presentation, there's lots of radios for sale, lots of transceivers for sale. So, if you're going to buy something that's beat up or that's not mint condition, you need to pay less. And I always do that. If I can't, I don't buy it. Always ask the person on the phone a catch question. I call it a ham radio related catch question. Here's a couple questions that I use. Hey, by the way, when running in digital modes, how do you set the ALC? Or what rig control software do you use? Okay. I really want to buy from a ham radio operator. I don't want to buy from someone pretending to be a ham radio operator. And if the person says, look, it's my late husband's radio, I don't know anything about it, fine, I'll deal with that. But there are people that play games. And so I want to make sure I'm talking to an amateur radio operator if I can. So I ask a few questions along the way. Okay, this point that I'm getting to right now is very important. Don't buy radios that need work. Okay, if you're a tech and you have a service monitor, you have a tracking generator, you have all the stuff in your shack, okay, or you have all that equipment at work like KX3DX, Dave. If you have all that stuff and you're willing to take on a parts radio or a radio that needs work and that's being sold as a parts radio or a radio that needs to be repaired, that's fine. But if you're not that person, don't buy a radio thinking you're going to fix it, because you never will. You probably can't get the parts. You probably can't get the display, no matter what the person tells you on the phone, because you're going to talk to them on the phone always. It's just not, I've seen too many hams, especially newer hams, buy radios that they think they're going to fix, and they probably pay a little too much anyway. And then they get a boat anchor, and sooner or later it's being sold on QTH as a boat anchor because there's no, as a parts radio. So don't buy radios that need work unless you're a technician and can work on them. Okay, also discuss your payment options. Usually there's only a couple payment options that are being used today. PayPal or money orders. And I can throw in a couple other things like Zelly and a few other things with PayPal, but usually it's electronic method of paying for a radio, or it's a money order. And more people, because of part swapping on modular radios, more people want money orders. And that's fine. And we'll talk about this in just a minute. There's a whole section on this, but just make sure you discuss that up front with the person selling the radio. Always discuss shipping cost. Okay, if you have a favorite shipper, tell the seller that. For instance, I like FedEx to deliver to the house here. I have much better success with FedEx delivering to my house. So unless the seller is absolutely, can't get to a FedEx location or whatever the case is, I'm going to talk to them and request them send it via FedEx. And if it costs me a little bit more, I'm okay with that as long as it comes FedEx. But make sure you discuss that. When will the seller ship? Ask them. They may be busy at work. They may be busy with a family emergency. So ask the seller, when can you ship? Make sure you get tracking information. Do you want insurance on the radio? Probably. So make sure you cover all that. And but if it's local, then, or it's somewhere along the Front Range, maybe you can pick it up in person. I had a guy here last year that wanted to sell a ICOM 7200. I love 7200s, by the way. What a great camping radio. And he was in Greeley. And I said, well, great. I'll just run up there and pick it up. No. I can't do that, he said. I said, well, I can meet you in town. I can meet you at a Starbucks, whatever. No, I need to ship it to you. Well, I didn't buy that radio. Probably some reason he didn't want me to come up there to take a look at it. At least that was my thought. And then always ask the question, has the radio ever been back to manufacturer or another facility for service? If it's been serviced, that's fine. It doesn't mean that I don't buy it. But if they tell me it's been back to Yaesu 4 times and they think they got it right this time, I don't know. I might not be I might not be a buyer for that radio. But if you don't ask the question, you'll never know. Okay. Always ask if the radio you're going to buy is from a smoking environment. If it is, you need to understand that radio should sell for about 40% less. I've only bought 2 or 3 radios that came from a smoking environment. I paid way less for them than what they were worth. You can't get the smell out of them. There's just no way. And you can try all kinds of different things. If you're a smoker and you don't have any issues with that smell in your shack, by all means, buy a radio. But always ask the question, if you're not a smoker and you don't want a radio in your shack that stinks for the entire time you own it, make sure you ask that question. If they're original manufacturer's boxes and accessories, I always pay a little more, maybe. But you need to ask those questions, because I've bought radios that I didn't ask the question, and it didn't come in the original box, didn't come with all the accessories. You know that little package with HF radio that has the connectors and stuff like that in it? That's worth something. So see what they have and make sure you get everything they have for the radio. The accessories are important, and it's part of the whole package. Ask if they're the original owner. If they're the original owner of the radio, you really want the radio and they've got it priced a little high, you might want to pay a little more for it, because you can get the full history on that radio from the day it came out of the box until the day they ship it. And that's worth something to me. If they give you the correct information, that's worth something. So if they're the original owner and it's in mint condition and they want a little more for it, you might want to pay that. Okay, with some exceptions, and not very many, I never buy estate equipment online. Because going back to what I said before, I can't talk to the person that uses the radio. I can't ask them about how does it work in this condition or that condition, because the person selling the radio for the estate doesn't know anything about ham radios. And they typically don't price things very well either, just as a side note. So I don't buy estate radio equipment online. Now, if it's a local estate sale, maybe. I know one person that's on the call tonight that bought a radio from an estate, I think out in Larkspur, and did fantastic. Bought the radio, used it, kept it for a while, actually sold it and made some good money. So estate sales are okay, but not online. I don't do that. Are they open to a trade? Maybe you're like Ray, that's got some twins sitting on the shelf, and maybe he'd be happy to throw those in as part of the deal. Always ask if you have something to trade. Ask if they're open to a trade. You'd be surprised how many people would take something in trade plus some cash in addition. All right, this is kind of my pet peeve, but when they put the ad on the different sites, if they can't figure out how to put a picture with that ad, I never contact them. I don't care how good a price it is. And then that's the next thing. If they don't put a price, I never contact them. It's not worth my time. If they can't figure out how to put a picture or a price in the ad, and you'll see these on QTH almost every day. Long description of the radio, this, and they don't put a price. And it's just a waste of time. So I don't even contact people in those two situations. Lastly, I've said this many times, I'll say it again, there's lots of radio equipment for sale, especially during COVID, especially right after Dayton, especially right before Dayton, especially right before Christmas and right after Christmas. Don't be afraid to walk on the deal if it's just not the right deal, okay? If you can't talk to them on the phone, if you can't get the correct answers to the questions, okay? If you can't get the price where you want it, walk on the deal. You'll find another one usually within a week, okay? And then always ask the questions, are there any issues with this radio? You'd be surprised how many people don't tell you that until you ask them. And they're not going to tell you that until you ask them. So are there any issues to the radio, with the radio? Well, a guy told me, yeah, it was an ICOM 725. The light that lights up the LCD display doesn't work. Everything else works perfect. Well, that's a common problem with IC 725s. I've replaced numerous lights with LEDs, and he thought it was a real issue. I bought the radio for under $300 and replaced the light and sold it for $450. So, but for the most part, ask if there's any issues with the radio, and usually honest ham radio operators will tell you the truth. And I always also ask the question, why are they selling? Why are you selling the radio? Well, I just ordered a brand new Flex 6400 and I got to sell some stuff to pay for it. Okay, well, great. That's a good reason. Sometimes the answer is, I don't like it. Can't stand the way it works. Sometimes the answer is, I've got too many radios. Sometimes really the answer is the wife says something's got to go. Whatever. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not, but that's a question I always ask. Why are you selling the radio? Sometimes it gives you a little insight into that. Okay, so that's all we're going to cover on buying. And the last part of the presentation is just one slide, and it's on selling online. Because we all like to upgrade. We all like to maybe get that 7610 and sell the 7300 and get the 7610. So we're going to sell our 7300, or we're going to sell whatever it is. And so here are a few tips for selling online. Actually, some of this applies to selling in person or selling on our forum as well. But mainly this is online tips. Number one, please clean your radio. I bought a 7100 one time that someone on the call tonight owns. And when I got it, there were little bits and pieces of food all over the display. Little piece of meat and salad, and I don't know what was on there, but it was gross. And the radio worked perfect. But you know, when I resold it, I cleaned the radio. So clean the radio. If nothing else, it looks better in the picture. Okay, take good pictures. Early on in doing this, I didn't understand the importance of that. And I didn't understand why some things didn't sell as quickly or for what I thought they should sell for. Take quality pictures and take pictures of all of the accessories that come with the radio. If the site will allow you to put multiple pictures, put pictures of the microphone, of the factory box, of the manual, of the little parts kit, whatever's going into that deal, make sure you have a picture of it, because it's one thing to say it in the ad. It's another thing to show the potential buyer that you really have it. Okay. You have to be realistic in your pricing. It doesn't matter what you paid for the radio. We all pay too much for a new radio. I'm sure Dan would love to have paid $500 less for his new Flex 6400. But he didn't. He paid what he had to pay to buy a new radio. We all think we pay too much. But it's a used piece of gear, and you have to keep that in mind. And if you paid $1,450 for a Kenwood 590 SG, you're not going to sell it for $1,350 6 years later. So you have to be realistic on your pricing. The way you do that is to ask AC5S, ask Into SRK. Maybe we have some opinions on what the radio is worth. Go to QTH.com, go to QRZ, go to EHAM. Take a look for that same model. See what people are asking for the radios. Get a feel for that. You can even go to eBay and look at completed auctions. Now, I'm not a fan of buying on eBay, and I'm not sure the data you get off eBay is all that accurate, but it's still a source you can use. Okay, so let's say you have a 7300 and you want $950 for it. And after the rebate, you can buy a brand new one for $900. Well, don't waste your time putting your radio online for $950. You're not going to sell it for $950. I can't tell you how many times, and the 7300 is a great example, because with the rebates and the discounts last year, you know, you could buy one for $897 through Main Trading Company and for a few dollars more HRO. But yet there were people that paid, you know, $1,200 for them when they first came out, and they were still trying to sell them for $1,000. Well, it's just not going to work. If you bought an Elecraft KX3 and you bought every option on it you can get, and you paid $2,050 for it, well, 6 years later, you can't ask $1,950. You can, but you're not going to sell it for that. Okay. So you have to be realistic with your pricing. And if you have your ad on there for 30 days and no one's contacted you, you probably can figure out that you have it priced too high. Okay. If you're selling old radios like Collins equipment, there was a time when Collins equipment brought really good money. And, but you know, nowadays Collins radios are priced at about 50% of what they were 10 years ago. Older radios are very hard to price. It's very hard to figure out what to ask for them because there's not a lot of ads for some of the older Kenwood or Yaesu equipment. The old Yaesu 101, you know, there's not a lot of them for sale. So it's going to be hard to figure out what to ask for that radio if you have a mint condition 101. But if you do some research, you can probably figure it out, including some of the maybe Collins Collector Association websites and stuff like that. Okay, expect to talk to the buyer, right? If you're selling something, expect that the buyer is going to want to talk to you. So have a game plan. Know what you're going to say, what type of answers you're going to give to the questions that he or she may ask you. Now, I did this presentation for the Tri-County Amateur Radio Group and a couple other groups, and all of a sudden I find this presentation on YouTube. And so these people call me up and they go, yeah, I saw your video, and so I got some questions to ask you, but you already know what they're going to be. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know I was on YouTube. But anyway, if they've seen this presentation, they're going to ask you some of the questions maybe that I recommend. So be prepared to answer those questions. Answer the questions honestly, but don't give too much information. Okay. You need to answer the questions honestly, and answer the questions that you need to answer to close the sale. But you don't need to say things like, oh, this is a great radio. It survived the rainstorm at field day. And we had water. There was water dripping off the back of it. And, but it's a great radio. You don't need to go into all those details, right? But answer the questions honestly and answer the questions that they ask. Discuss the shipping. Again, same for buying a radio. It's probably a little more important if you're selling, because the buyer may have a preference. And make sure in this area you are accurate. If you tell the buyer you're going to ship on Thursday of this week, then you need to ship on Thursday, or you need to ship on Wednesday, but don't ship on Friday. Buyers get irritated, and they don't like it when they're supposed to get a photo of the tracking information on Thursday, and you had something come up and you didn't get a chance to get it out till Friday or Saturday. They don't like that. And so just remember, be accurate when you discuss shipping. Ship it when you say you're going to ship it. Okay, but sometimes things come up and, the kids get sick or whatever. That's fine. But just don't be that person that doesn't communicate. You need to communicate. So if your shipping plans change or something else changes, you went to get the box, they didn't have the box. You went to get another box, another place to get a box, they didn't have the box. That's fine. Just communicate with the buyer and say, look, it's going to go out one day later than I told you. And most people will be okay with that if you communicate with them. Make sure you send the tracking number to the buyer ASAP after shipping. I take a picture of it, text it to them from the parking lot. Okay. Don't discuss with the buyer when the package will arrive. Never, ever do that. FedEx may say it'll be there Friday, but there are too many variables, especially with COVID right now. If you tell the buyer that, yep, FedEx said it'll be there Friday, and it doesn't get there Friday, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to start sending you all kinds of emails and texts, and they're going to call you and want to know why the radio didn't get there, and can you track it? Can you do this? Can you do that? So don't give them any information that If it gets there, it'll get there when it ggets there. Okay. We didn't cover this other piece in the selling part. I will just cover it here in the buying part. I'll cover it here in the selling part. I never, ever, ever ship international. I would recommend that you never sell international. You never buy anything from international seller, and never, ever, ever do business with anybody in Canada, ever. There's several stories I can tell, but the bottom line is if you ship something to Canada and you think it's going to get there within 2 weeks, it might, but it might get hung up in customs and it may not get there for 12 weeks. And it becomes a nightmare. And if they paid you with PayPal, then they're going to cancel the order, and the radio's sitting out there in the shipping lane somewhere. Canada is not a good place to do business with. It's not a good business to sell to. It's not a good business to buy from, and nor is any place outside of a U.S. address. That's kind of how I look at it. Okay, double box all transceivers. Use adequate amount of bubble wrap or other packaging materials. Don't skimp on that. Put it back in the original box if you have it. Then put the original box in a second box. Make sure everything's packaged well. The last thing you want to do is deal with a damaged radio that shows up, because even if you have insurance, you're going to be part of this whole process until it gets all taken care of. Or worse yet, if it's a PayPal deal, they're just going to decline it and send it back, and they're going to get their money back. So take the time to package it correctly. Also, understand your shipping cost. Understand your packaging material cost. Before you give the buyer a price, make sure you know what it's really going to cost you to ship, okay? I can wing it. I should say I used to be able to wing it. Shipping prices have gone up, and I don't do that anymore because I'll get burned. I'll tell the buyer it's $64 to ship, and then afterwards it cost me $74, and it's hard to get that other $10 back. Sometimes they might, the buyer might be happy to send it to you, but it just becomes a situation that you don't want to put yourself in. So I think most buyers, when they're buying something from you, they understand shipping cost. Okay, they know that it's going to cost something to ship something, but they never ever get the piece that has to do with packaging materials. They just don't do it. If you say it's going to be $35 to ship and $25 to package it, they just don't get that. And so what I usually do is I add any cost of packaging materials to the price of the radio. So here's what the radio costs, here's the shipping cost, and I try to make the deal work that way. I don't make the deal too complicated and talk about things that may not be easy for a buyer to understand. Now, this last point here, next to last point, is everything needs to be sold as is. I don't care how new the radio is. I don't care what you think the radio, is. Everything needs to be sold as is, and that needs to be put in your ad every single time. I talked about part swapping. With modular radios like Elecraft, it's a huge problem right now. Somebody buys an Elecraft K3S, and they get it. They pull out the transverter. They pull out the hundreds of dollars worth of filters. They button it back up. They call the person up that sold it and said, "Hey, you lied to me. You told me there were filters in here, and there was a this, there was a that. I'm sending it back to you." And the person that sold it's like, "No, that was all in there." Well, if it's a PayPal deal, you're going to lose. If you're the seller, you're going to lose the deal, and you're going to get the money's coming back out of your account. Trust me. So everything is sold as is, and that's one of the things that helps you with a negotiation with PayPal and some other sites. Never, ever, ever offer any warranty of any kind. Even if there's a warranty on the radio still, you don't offer it, you don't discuss it. And then lastly, on selling online, and I've done this several times, I'm doing a trade, maybe an even trade, or a trade where little cash transactions as well. Make sure both parties ship the same day. Okay, don't play the game where you ship your radio to the person on Wednesday, and they're not going to ship till Sunday, because that just sets up a situation where they get a chance to look at the radio that they're buying ahead of time, and you don't. So make sure that you do ship the same day if you're doing some type of trade. Okay, final thoughts. Have a game plan going into negotiations, whether you're buying or you're selling. If you don't do it a lot, you don't do this often, write it down ahead of time. Write down what you're going to say. Write down the things that you want to cover. Make sure you know your shipping costs and other costs and fees ahead of time before you get on to a conversation with a seller or a buyer. Have your upper limit clearly defined. So if you're going to buy a radio and you've been looking for a really super good, clean ICOM 7600, you know, make sure you know what your upper limit is. I mean, I don't care what that radio is. I don't care if it was owned by Bob Heil. I don't care if it was owned by Ray Novak at Kenwood. Make sure you have that limit that you say to yourself, I'm not paying more than $1,550 for that radio, no matter what. And try not to overspend. If something is just a deal that's too good to be true, okay. But remember what I said before? There's lots of radios for sale. There's going to be other mint condition, whatever. So don't overspend. If your research tells you shouldn't spend more than $875 for an ICOM 7300, don't do it. Stick to your guns. Okay. People always ask me, have you ever been burned? Have you ever been, taken advantage of? Well, yes, a few times. Back in early days of doing this, I wasn't quite as organized, but really I've only been burned about 3 times out of 400 or so radios. That's not bad. I was burned on a Flex 1500 that I purchased, a little QRP Flex radio. I sent the guy a money order. He went into intensive care the next day. His daughter started getting all these money orders in the mail, and she had some big parties, and I never got the Flex, and they got my $500. I got burned on the ICOM 706 one time through eBay. Sold it to a gentleman in Florida. I was on the radio using it the night before. When he got it, he said, look, it doesn't work. I said, it works fine. It worked fine. I used it the night before. He said, the encoder doesn't work. But he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you knock off $200, I'll just fix it myself and we'll call it even. Well, I knew he was taking me to cleaners. I knew I was getting screwed on the deal. But, with the way eBay worked at one point, I also knew that I was going to pay for shipping to have it returned. And he might have actually gone in and done some damage or whatever. So we negotiated that. But I didn't come out very well on that. And I bought an ICOM 725 one time that was in mint condition. Everything worked and nothing worked. Not one button, absolutely nothing. And the guy told me, well, it's too bad. It's online sales. You get what you get. I said, okay, whatever. So anyway, that's the 3 times I remember that I've been burned. Okay, a couple other things. I already said this. I would never ship international. There's all kinds of scams. There's all kinds of scams out there. The guy in Germany wants you to deliver it send it to his brother in DC, and there's this, that, and the other, and creative ways they want you to pay for it or whatever the case is, or they will pay you. Don't do international selling or buying. Never, ever, ever buy or sell to anyone in Canada. And we can have that discussion offline at some point. Money order 101. What is the reality of a money order? If you get a USPS money order and you ship it to somebody, that's as good as cash. You will never get that back. It is gone forever. Unless the money order actually disappears and you have a receipt and you put up a bond and all this kind of stuff. A money order is the same as cash, the way I look at it. A lot of people now want USPS money orders for you to buy a radio. A lot of people want that. If I follow all the procedures, I follow the process that I've discussed tonight, and I feel good about the person. I've talked to him on the phone. Maybe I've talked to him on the phone twice. We've had a long conversation. Maybe they're asking me a lot of good questions. Maybe they want to know a little bit about my setup. Maybe they're looking at my picture on QRZ and they have some questions for me. We built a little relationship on the phone, and I am fairly certain that this is a deal that I want to do. I don't have a problem using a USPS money order. But if I feel like that there's going to be, all those stars don't align, then I might still buy the radio, but I'll use another method that I might have some recourse if it's not what they say it is. But just keep in mind, once you send the money order, it's gone. make sure you do your due diligence, and have personal limits on that too. I have personal limits on money orders. I will not buy a $2,000 radio with a money order. So know what your limitations are there. What can you lose and still sleep at night? That would be the question I would ask. Okay, wire transfers, cashier's checks, and cash. I have never had issues with wire transfers. Some people do, apparently, but I don't, especially if it's with the bank that I bank with and it's the same bank they bank with. And sometimes that happens. Cashier's checks. Again, I've worked with cashier's checks a lot, never had any issues, but there is a feeling going around that the cashier's checks are bad news. So, you can read up on that and do whatever you think that you want to do. Overall, there's a lot of good stuff out there to buy, and used equipment can be very, very good equipment. Nearly every radio I've ever owned that I've kept for any length of time has been used. And I've really been happy with a lot of the purchases. I have a new radio on my desk here, and I have another new radio coming in a few weeks. So I do buy new, but when I can, I buy used because I think it's a better value. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it very much. And through Wayne or whoever, I'll be happy to answer any questions. 73.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, great job, Paul. I mean, I think some of the key points that you put in were, at least my walkaways are be prepared. Prepare the questions ahead of time that you're going to ask the seller, and be prepared for the transaction. And I think the also key thing is be able to walk away. If you're buying a radio and boy, we talk about that gut instinct and something doesn't feel right in a transaction, it's okay to walk away. And like Paul mentioned, that same radio will probably be up online within a week or two on any of the online sites. So, boy, just great information. Now, Paul, you've given this presentation a couple times, and I'll tell you what, it's like a fine wine. It gets better with age. Every single time there's something new that I pull out of it. So I want to thank you for just a rock solid presentation. Oh, kick it around. Any questions for Paul that maybe have come in either on YouTube or maybe in our chat room?
Haven't seen any on the YouTube as of yet. One thing I did want to mention about QTH, if you are looking for a radio, keep an eye on that site. It moves very fast. Things disappear very quickly. If they're really good deals, they disappear very, very fast. 15 minutes, an hour. I've seen some of the QRP radios show up on there, and if they're a really good deal or someone's hard up for cash, they're gone like 30 minutes. And a lot of the times you'll send an email to someone and they're like, you're the fifth person and the first one got it. So, yeah, I've bought, I've sold both on QRZ and QTH. So it's definitely worth a look.
Great point, Wayne. Excellent.
And I got to share, it was because of a DMR radio transaction that Paul and I met back in 2012. Was it, Paul?
14, wasn't it?
2013.
2013.
Yeah, I knew it was right around there. And I think that one of the questions that caught Paul on his heels when I was buying this DMR HT from him is, why are you selling it? That was one of the first questions I asked Paul was, why are you selling this? And it was a great response, and boy, just an easy peasy transaction. And you never know where a simple little radio deal will lead you. So don't be afraid to sometimes dive into it. But as like Paul said, trust your instincts. If it's time to walk away, it's time to walk away, and there'll always be another opportunity to get that same radio in another week or two or a month or two down the line.
That's how I met Paul. I bought a signal link from him at the McDonald's in Arapahoe on I-25. And he's like, hey, you should come check out this new radio club I'm a member of. And Paul, I still have that same signal link, by the way. I still have it.
I think I've only sold 2 to Paul, but it feels like it's probably been more. I sold him a Flex 6400, and I sold him an ICOM 705, I think, but it's hard to keep track of what we sold to Paul.
Yeah, I keep buying stuff from Paul. That's the problem.
I have 2 radios right now that I bought from
radio
Paul.
to sell me, asked me if it was ever mobile, and I'm like, well, you know.
So I've slowed down a lot. I probably am down to about buying and reselling one radio every 2 or 3 months. So,
I think we need to create a little logo for him. Trader Paul, the man.
It's more like a quality piece, you know.
Now.
I like
What was that? What was that, Ray?
I think I've been through about a half a dozen radios from Paul now. I still have 3 or 4 of them.
Did they all work?
Oh yeah. Oh, top notch stuff. It was
Never mobile.
Never mobile.
Which 7100 had all over it.
Dan still holds the record with me for the most radios bought from and sold back to.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Yeah, there was some definite horse trading going on between Patrick and I. I think we traded and sold, and it was a 450D back and forth about twice between each other.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Didn't I buy it in between?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I know I bought a 450 from you, didn't I, at one point? I don't know.
I don't know if it was from me. Might have been Patrick.
Yeah.
Well, any other questions or comments for Paul and his presentation?
Well, no, but I'm going to come back to the HF loaner thing. So if all this has totally mystified you and you're like, well, heck, I'm scared to try a used HF radio. We've got 2 used HF radios, right, that have been used at many field days and people have borrowed them. You can get a really good sense for what a used HF radio works like and looks like, and great opportunity to dig in for free.
Then go buy a used one.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're both really good beginner radios. So
They are.
And the 7300 I won my first Colorado QSO party with. So it's got an award on it.
Yeah, what'd you win your second one on?
It's my 7300.
The same radio.
Yeah, and funny enough, the KX3's been getting all the love lately. The 7300, I did the North American QSO party this weekend, got some contacts there, but that was the first time I actually turned the radio on since field day, because I've been rocking the KX3.
Nice. Well, if it's any testament, each and every month we have great presentations, and as you can tell, Paul always has fantastic presentations that he puts together. So if there's anything that you're really passionate about regarding amateur radio and you'd like to present it at any of our monthly meetings or maybe an Elmer night, please reach out to us. We always need a good bullpen of presenters lined up and ready to go. And again, kind of a nice way to give back to the hobby a little bit, give back to your ERA. And at the same time, too, you get the opportunity for some bragging rights. So maybe it's not on buying and trading radios. Maybe it's on a mini DXpedition you did. Maybe you went to, maybe you went to Bermuda and took your KX3 with you. Or maybe you went to Europe and operated in Europe some HF while you were over there. It could be something on Logbook of the World. So anything regarding amateur radio, we would love to have you to be a presenter. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us via our Contact Us tab at our website, parkerradio.org. We're going to kick it around to the leadership committee for any final comments. So, Patrick, AI8C, we'll throw it over to you for your final thoughts.
Thanks, Dan. Again, thanks everyone for coming this month. Great to have you, and hope to see you next time. And Paul, as always, the great Elmer and mentor of radio sales and things of that nature. Thank you so much for spreading your knowledge around. Appreciate it. And back to net control, Dan.
All right.
Oh,
Patrick.
and this is this is AI8C for ID for Justin.
Well, Patrick, again, you get the DX award tonight. So thanks for joining us from all the way from Georgia, and creeping up on almost 11 o'clock out in Georgia. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is.
Elizabeth, N1RDH, we'll throw it over to you, Elizabeth, for your final thoughts tonight.
I just want to say thank you to Paul for all of your knowledge and for sharing that with everybody. You know, you got me into ham radio. Sure, John drug me to the meetings, but it was you. You helped me. You lit the fire under me and got me doing this. So thank you for all that you do. You are amazing, and thank you to the members. And if you want me to add you to the email blast, share your story with me, n1rdh@parkerradio.org. Thanks, guys. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you so much, and just great commentary tonight. So much appreciated. Let's see here. Let's kick it over to Justin, AE2L. Justin, your final thoughts for tonight.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, I've got a few pet peeves, and one is things that are already the thing that they're abbreviated for, like an automated teller machine is already an ATM. It's not an ATM machine. Vehicle identification number is not a VIN number. And likewise, I feel that it is part of our etiquette as amateur radio operators that just utilizing our call signs when we operate. It is such a height to achieve as a ham radio operator to just work your call sign in, and N2SRK, AE2L here, as we talk. I don't feel the need to say why I'm saying it, whether it's for ID, whether it's for the bell or whatever, or for Justin, which I actually think is perfectly acceptable because it's not an ATM machine situation there. But any of you wondering what we're talking about, that's the deeper dive explanation. So, hey, E2L, back to net for ID.
For yourself. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you. That's good stuff. John, N4SJW, I think is offline. John, are you still there? All right, no John. Let's throw it over to Ray, N0KEG. Ray, your final thoughts for tonight.
Yep, I'm still here, and all I want to say is, stay tuned for the repeater stuff that'll come out in the newsletters here over the next week or two. It'll have success stories, hopefully some pictures of the sites, all the details, frequencies, tones, digital modes, all that other jazz. So with that, nothing further, Your Honor. Back to you.
All right, Ray. Thanks again for joining us tonight. And then live from the production control room, I'll get it out. We'll throw it over to Wayne, N0AD. Wayne, your final thoughts for tonight.
Yeah, thanks again, Paul, for stepping up and doing the presentation. As always, it's interesting, and you've been through quite a bit of radios, quite a few. But yeah, I think next month John has set up. I think it's going to be a presentation about the repeaters going up this month. So that's what's in the pipe coming down. But yeah, any other ideas for any presentations? any niche that you have that you would like to share with the club, reach out to us via the contact form, and we'll get you on here or one of the Elmer nights. And even if you wanted to do a video on its own for content for the Parker Radio YouTube channel, feel free to give us reach out to us and let us know. And thanks everybody. It looks like we had almost about 50 people today between Google Meet and YouTube Live. So doing really well. So pass it back to you there, Dan.
All right, Wayne, again, thank you. And I did promise I would show off a picture, and I did find it with me with hair. So I'm gonna see if I can present that right. It's probably not coming.
There's glare.
There we go.
There we go. Wow.
That is
wow. And here I thought it was going to
serious
be a cave drawing.
that was a good head of hair back then. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not that long ago. That's what happens when you have 3 kids and some pretty quick consecutive months in your early to mid 20s. So that's what ends up happening. But no, that was a lot of work to have that hair come out the way that did. But nonetheless, there's proof. So as Elizabeth says, it didn't happen unless there's a picture. Well, there's the picture. So
That's fantastic, Dan. Thank you.
So I thought I would share that golden nugget with everyone. So well, that's about it for our August monthly meeting of the Parker Radio Association. So on behalf of the members and the leadership committee of the PRA, thanks for joining us tonight. Look forward to seeing you next month. But also don't forget, next Wednesday night is Elmer Night. So stay tuned for more details. That'll be coming out on our website, www.parkerradio.org, or our YouTube channel. So take a look at us on YouTube. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you like our videos as well. So this is Dan, N2SRK, saying 7-3. We'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.
73, everybody.
74.
74.
N2SRK,